off the cup.
That's right. That's right. Been an exciting day though. Lots of stuff happening. And we'll get to that in a second, as soon as the thingy does whatever the hell it's doing. And I think that did it.
Is the thingy doing?
Yep.
Huzzah!
Success.
I mean, how often do I get to say huzzah? You know?
It's a great way to start this episode of the Roundtable. I don't even know what roundtable number this is, and frankly, it doesn't really matter. It's another roundtable. We've been doing so many of these over the last 3 years, and it dawned on me earlier today just how much my life has been enriched by them. Like, I really enjoy getting a chance to just sit down and listen to everybody else communicate whatever the hell this conversation means to them. You know, it was great today because we had a meeting with some local business owners who we had never met, but they saw us on social media, and we loved their tater tots. And we went in and we chatted with them. And there was no in-depth conversation about like God and awareness, and we're all one, and blah. There was none of that. But there was a lot of genuine appreciation for the recognition of authenticity as something that's important in our life. Like just that a lot of what we do is to promote authenticity. People resonate like that with that like a motherfucker. And why? Because it's something that we're all looking for, just to be ourselves. Right. And so I thought that was great. It was really interesting just to realize how much this has evolved for me, because as much as it is still, there are no others, and we're all one, and the concept of you is not you, and so on and so forth. That's really just a conversation about being yourself. You know, it's exciting to see it growing that way.
Yeah, very excited. Great to see everyone here. And yes, that meeting was a lot of fun. It's really like with everything, especially in the last couple of days, just hit me more and more how much it's really not about learning something specific. It's like everything's about the action and doing things and like being able to speak from that. So it's not even something that you're concerned about necessarily. Like during that business meeting today, like there were a few times where even though we went in with an agenda or a plan, we were like, let's go chat with them. They want to chat. There's maybe ways that we can work together. Like I had a few times where I kind of felt myself almost sinking back a little, and I'm like, wait a second, we're already doing the thing. Like we're already hanging with these people, chatting, like it's already going on. It's like I don't have to make it into something, make it more. It's like it's already going on. Like it was already a success when we sat down and we're like, hey, we're here to chat, and not needing to live up to so much of a bar. I think sometimes I'll look for that when we do go into meetings, like without an agenda, without like, we're going to talk about this and have some sort of structure. And it's like, it's way more fun. It was one of the most fun, like technically, I guess it was a business meeting, but it seemed like just a time hanging, chatting with friends. So yeah, just taking the actions and doing more of just that without thinking so much about how it's going.
Yeah, it was incredible to be there. And I definitely had waves where I was like, oh no, I should be saying something different, or I felt an insecurity about not saying something, or not being able to contribute, or not really knowing where the conversation was supposed to go. And feeling that, and then also feeling just as much the potential that it could go in the direction that I think it should, and in any other direction, and that would be okay. That it was just okay to be there, to chat to say something when I did, to feel like I was contributing, and to feel like I was listening to other contributions, and so it felt really good. It just felt very full. It was refreshing, and I'm really glad that we went, and I'm so glad that they were receptive to it, and I'm very excited to see where our conversations go with them, and and everywhere else that we happen to connect with someone. So it feels pretty cool.
Yeah. Hosting karaoke.
Oh,
yeah. We'll get more into that later on. We'll talk more about the possibility of Dualistic Unity hosted karaoke outside of DU retreats. Oh, That said, it's a roundtable. So for everybody who's not watching, you should know that we have guests. We have 3 guests with us today. We have Jazz, Levi, and Marie, which is fucking exciting. This is gonna be a fun conversation. I'm gonna pass it over to Jazz and just see where this goes. Jazz, what the fuck's up?
Hello, everyone. Nice to be back on a roundtable. It's been quite a while, it feels like, since I've been on a roundtable, so this is nice. I'm glad people could make it as well. I have been just having the most intense day, it feels like, oh my Lord. Like, mind has been going insane and just like, I don't know, putting that aside and doing whatever I actually want to do, and sometimes like being so traumatized by whatever it's like how heavy it feels that okay, maybe I'll take a nap now. Maybe that's what's appropriate at this point. But I don't know, since the conversation we had on Sunday, it feels like it's I don't know that I don't know, I'll just give a I don't even know what the word is.
Summary?
A summary?
Synopsis?
Yes. Summary, just
Notes.
a repeat or my
Playback.
perception. Yes.
Flashback. There we go.
Right, the snapshot, the snippet.
Absolutely. So I was talking about a conversation that I was having with a friend the day before on Sunday's Patreon call, and about how the conversation started really heavy and it ended really light. And there were parts of me that wanted to attach to some way or somehow that it happened. You know, there's some story to create around how it went from being heavy to being light. And ultimately, it felt like, in my experience, that it was just what was happening. Like, it didn't feel like I was trying to make it light. It was just, it was heavy, and I was fine with it being heavy. Oftentimes, things are heavy, especially with my parents. And I have never taken it as a personal response, or I have actually absolutely taken it as a personal responsibility to fix that heaviness. So I definitely get what it feels like to try to make things light, try to make things happy, try to make things okay. And then there are times when I'm just, I don't know, there with my friend and things are intense. And you know what? Like, this is intense. Like, okay, let's just be intense. And someone will bring up some conversation about, let's say that the conversation is not about authenticity. Let's say the conversation is about, I have a problem, let's fix this. And sometimes the conversation just goes in that direction. And so that's the direction it took in that instance. And so it played out, and that was that. But it felt to me that the conversation that we had on Sunday, it felt to me like it was me, like what was being perceived was that I was trying to fix something, or I was trying to, I don't know, um, make something better, make myself feel like something special. Like, I am the one that's doing this to you, that I am the one that is like, because of me, this is happening. And I'm not sure that that's the case, but what I do feel like is that hanging out with you guys, hanging out at retreats has allowed me to see another way to live. And it has allowed me, and it's all been work that I did. Like, if I didn't do that work, then it wouldn't have happened. But at the same time, I do feel like if I didn't run across you guys, then this would have taken me longer. That's what it feels to me like, that I probably would have gone through some surgeries. Maybe if I had the opportunity to do it, it's entirely possible that the realization would have taken me long enough until post-surgery even. And I guess that's just where I wanted to start this conversation, because I don't know that that's what was happening, but it seems to me like there was something that was trying to be gotten out of that conversation. Like, a role was being played because I have spent 25 years paying attention. And so let me tell you where something might be happening here.
I just all I can say is thank you, first of all, for making us useful. But the other thing is, I look back at my life, and while there are a few key people that I could say had an impact on my journey, everyone helped me get to where I am, right? Exactly when I got there. And so it was inevitable. It wasn't us. It was very much just a matter of time based on the shit that you were doing in yourself. You know, like if you weren't doing it already, this conversation would have blown you right by. Right? You wouldn't have even heard it. Right. And it wouldn't have caught your attention because you weren't willing to process any of the things that we were chatting about. And that's really it. And so yeah, it's a pleasure to be part of your journey. Right. And I feel the same way about mine. I'll tell you that right now. Like I look at my journey, I go, man, I could have made this so much worse. You know, like I could have made it way harder before I finally got my head out of my ass. You know, and I'm really glad that I didn't have the exact same thought. And I'm grateful in the same way to everybody who played their part in that. But again, there's that perspective of division, you know, like maybe we're all growing together. I mean, that's what this is. That's what I'm getting out of this. You know, I've learned a lot since I met you. You know, so we're all getting something.
It's fun to be a part of, because I've felt the same way, same exact way. Like there is no way I would be where, you know, whatever that means, where I'm at, if I hadn't come across the opportunity to have the conversation. But like everyone here, anyone who's ever come across Dualistic Unity, like they're thinking about things in their own life anyway. And so it makes me wonder, with the seamlessness of things growing and expanding, like everyone who's ever gotten involved in Dualistic Unity, or like interacted with it, or like, you know, this community, whatever all of that means, like has had such a massive impact in it. Because it's like, it really isn't something separate from our experiences. Like it's not a thing to look, like obviously not a thing to look to or follow, but it's like it's an expression and embodiment of like all of us going through our things. And so the way that Dualistic Unity is now versus at the beginning is like directly reflective of everyone who's ever gotten involved and come across it, which is really cool to like be a part of that. And it's like, what's it going to be today? What's this roundtable going to be today? Well, it's like whatever we're bringing to the table. And right now it's this.
And this is not what I think, because what I think is not happening. It's what I'm thinking is an opinion. What I'm thinking is a hypothetical, but it's not here. And so no matter what I think, no matter how it makes me feel, no matter how old or new that thought is, it's just not what's happening. And so I'm so grateful to be having these chats and to be influenced by all of you, because I feel like all the words that I could want to say have been said, and there's so much mutual appreciation and so much mutual respect. Like we are fucking putting in the reps and talking about it and being honest about the feeling our needs buckle, feeling good about certain reps, feeling like you can't do another rep, feeling like you judged yourself, feeling like you were so obsessed with how much weight you had on the rep. Like it's really beautiful to be able to look at the experience from so many different perspectives without putting one perspective above another. And I'm so glad that we all co-create that. So fucking thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for helping to make these calls, these roundtables, these experiences feel like once in a lifetime.
And I wanted to mention, because I find this really interesting, because again, like Jazz, you went through your own process of just dealing with things and processing things and all that. And most of that was when you got out of the way and stopped trying to fix it. Right. In the same way that the conversation you were just there for. And it's almost like it's like putting attention into like a ball of Christmas lights, but they're all tangled and shit. And you just put your attention into it and you kind of loosen it up just by virtue of being there and playing with it. So you start to change how it's working. And it's just a process. And I think that's it. You're there with somebody and you just lend your intelligence to it. You know, and things can work out so long as there's nobody who's trying to like derail it for their own purpose. I mean, that's when it doesn't work, is when both people are trying to get something for themselves rather than to just be there with each other. And so I think it's incredible because there is an intelligence behind all of it. And it's really just a matter of accepting that you're already it, and allowing it to do whatever it's doing, whether you think it makes sense or not. Like half the time with people, I'm not doing anything, and they're like, "Oh God, Ray, thank you so much," and I'm just like, you know, cheers, off you go, like that whole thing. And one more thing I'll add to this is that you were expressing that, you know, I'm glad that I came around to seeing some of this before I went further down a path where I was just trying to find myself rather than just being myself, right? There are people who are still going through that, you know, people who have gone farther down that path in a lot of ways. I ran into one last night, right? Trans male, and for all the world, just tense as tense could be, you know, regardless of being, you know, on the surface, everything they're trying to be, still not solving the problem, right? Which is the tension and the inability to be yourself, the not feeling like you're accepted or that you fit in, or not feeling like you're just enough, like you're enough. And so, yeah, I'm grateful. You know, I'm grateful that this is something that we're all getting, because man, I was going down that path too. It was different for me. We all have our different expressions of fucking trying to find ourselves and the shit that twists us up, right? But that's why we come back with that. We come back and went, check that path out, but don't go too far. You know, like there's some shit down there, but there's some shit down there. You know, that's pretty much it. But that's how we inform each other. That's how we all grow. It's exciting. Levi.
Hey everyone.
Good to see you, man.
Hi, buddy.
Yeah, likewise. Good to see you all. Yeah, no, I resonate a lot with I actually thought about earlier today, like kind of what do you kind of means to me, or like it's a bit difficult to answer that question, but I came up towards kind of the same realizations that you were talking about, Jazz, like how I feel like it's been an acceleration of whatever this is, you know. But then again, it's a part of what's happening. You know, that's what led to this moment. So yeah. But it's like I feel if I'm gonna say something, it's like I just feel like it's a space to, you know, go out of your comfort zone. I feel that's kind of and like try to be yourself. I feel maybe that's like the biggest thing it's done. It's like it's just allowing me to kind of be like experience what it means to just be and be myself, whatever that means in that moment, right? So I think that's and from there it's like anything you can do anything like it's I mean, yeah, it's been a hell of a journey for sure. Even though we don't like that word so much, it's just fucking hell. And yeah, yeah. And I just lately I've been like past couple of months maybe. It's just everything has been like so effortless and easy. Like I don't want to like sit there and brag or anything, but that's just how it feels. And everything is just kind of it's just flowing, you know. And it is but I've just kind of let go a little bit of the controls. It's like there are still kind of choices out there that I can just feel and whenever I am like worrying about these choices in my head, I'm just, you know, do I need to make the decision now? And then most often the answer is no. And then I just keep going. And then I get more information down the line and more information. And then it's no longer a choice. It's like, I know what I will do, of course, because it just dissipates the choice because you just come to a point where, of course, that's not what you're going to do or that's what you're going to do or whatever, you know. So it's pretty incredible. So but it's been like I've kind of been like a little bit afraid as well. I'm like, okay, I'm just getting a little taste of this, and then it's gonna be taken away, and you know, all these idiotic thoughts that are going on up in the head. But then again, that's also just thoughts. It's nothing. It's just keep going, you know. And now for the past couple of days, it's been extremely turbulent. Like, and it's just. I mean, I usually sleep very sound, but I'm struggling to fall asleep at night, and I'm just feeling some old patterns are kind of coming back in and kind of trying to grab me, and I'm falling for some of them, and then the next day I'm back on track. But it's just I'm still fine, you know. It's completely fine, and it's just, but it's not. I'm feeling a lot, let's just say, but it's just. Oh, I just keep going, you know. And just before this call or before starting to talk now, like it's like feeling nervous and all that stuff. But it's like all these things, as long as it's not important, you know, it's like I'm like it doesn't matter if I'm like shaking a little bit or whatever, because it's not it's like. Oh, it just doesn't matter, you know? It's just you can just feel it and then see what happens. And yeah, I don't know. It's just incredible to be a part of whatever this journey is. So, yeah.
Fucking awesome, man. I just wanted to weigh in quickly and just say, like, I find it funny because we've been talking about this a lot lately about how you go through old feelings, old responses to life, and you're like, why do I feel afraid? Oh, right, because I've been afraid every other time, but I know there's nothing to fear here. And so it's almost like your body's trying to catch up. It's like, what do you mean there's nothing to fear? I'm still afraid though, right? It's just give it time. You know, we'll cycle through this again next time. You'll pick it up a bit more. You know, it's like you're just giving yourself a chance to kind of acclimate to your new perception.
Yeah, it's like a holographic monster almost. It's like every time that fear pops up, it looks scary as fuck, and then you realize, oh, I can walk through that. It's not, there is another side to that. That doesn't mean that like the feelings and stuff go away right there as you're in it.
But they
But
get
like
bigger.
at least you're there too.
They get bigger because you're not running from it, right? Like if you're like, oh, I don't need to run from this, all of a sudden you actually feel it out the whole way through.
Yeah.
Right. The other night I was having a conversation with my ex-wife, and we were talking about, you know, the feeling of loss that goes with the end of a relationship. And I was trying to explain that I feel that loss all the time. Like I feel that, but I also feel the beauty that led to the feeling of loss. Like I have the same equal perception and awareness of the beautiful journey that made that feeling of loss come to be. Right. And so it's both gain and loss to me. I feel the full fucking spectrum about it. And I'm not running from that feeling. I'm not trying to choose one or the other. I'm aware that they're both there. Whereas some people will try to go back to all the pleasant memories to avoid the sad ones. But the sad ones make the pleasant ones more beautiful. Right. Like they inform each other. And so it's almost like you find yourself with a full spectrum of feeling, whereas before you're always trying to narrow it down to what was comfortable.
Yeah, it's like everything, if everything's on the table, then there isn't so much to be concerned about happening. Like I was even thinking about that going into this call, like, you know, I get nerves before a lot of calls, and like, all right, well, I've been on calls where I've just like felt like I'm in a pit, and afterwards, like, you know, go about my day and I'm okay. So I'm like, so like if that's already happened, I'm still here, then maybe I don't have to try and hold on to every sentence, think I have to say something in response. Maybe I can just be here and hear what's going on. And there's like faith in that, but it comes from going through enough consequence where it's like, I've already done all that and I've survived. I'm still like heart's still beating. I wasn't actually in danger ever. And so if that's the case and you can still be alive through that and experience all that stuff, then why not? It's like all the judgment that you fear. Like, what if they did? What if it did happen? It's like, could you still live? Could you still be you? Could you still go through your life? Could you still show up to something, not to overcome anything or prove anything, but just to experience what that experience is, what this experience is right now. Like, can you just show up without a need to prove yourself, or, you know, do it to overcome a fear for trying to get something across? Because then you're really there.
Right, but if it doesn't mean anything about you, then you're just able to maybe change your perspective from, I didn't survive those things, I learned from those things. You know, those things shaped a lot of my experiences. They added so much depth to my future experiences. They added so much depth to the experience that I'm in once I realized that I was scared, and I didn't need to be, because it wasn't that I was truly scared of other things. It was that I was scared that I wouldn't be able to handle it. You know, I was scared that I wasn't enough, that something would overwhelm me. And not that I could just, you know, take things in, and maybe I would stumble, but stumbling is judging the step as not being smooth enough. And again, that just brings in an opinion, and that doesn't actually take in the experience that you're in the middle of. But it's just, you know, I was thinking when you were saying about, like, you know, letting your body catch up, it's like, no, absolutely, you feel that. Like, I feel the nerves bubbling now, and it's so easy, because the minute that I think, you know, am I nervous, I feel nervous. And it's just in, like, asking the question that I've made this possibility more real, because I'm like, am I nervous? Oh my God, I'm feeling nervous. Shit, we were nervous. How long has this been the case?
How does a nervous person act?
All right, I took out my phone. Shit, is that what nervous people do? The evidence is there. Oh my goodness. And it's just this fucking, it's just a possibility, right? It is a direction. It is a way that the experience could be felt, but it's not the only one. And it's just as easy to transition from one feeling to another, because they're all accessible the minute that you reach for it, and you reach for it when you think of it.
Yeah. And before I pass it over, I just wanted to say, Levi, it's fun, man. It's really interesting, because I've talked to you now for almost 2 years, I think, and just the progression in the conversation has been inspiring, because every step of the way you've been like, I'm just here to feel this out. Like, I've got questions. I'm going back and forth with this. There was never any sense of, you know, we're leading you anywhere, or there's anything to follow. You're just like, this all sounds kind of interesting. And then over and over again, you're just like, so I decided to give less of a shit today. You know, and I felt remarkably good, you know, and it was just that. And it was because you gave less of a shit about something that you're not, but had thought you were. And so for me, it's exciting, because I experienced this in my own life. I've described it to everyone as the day I realized I had never lived for me. And everything in my life changed. And that's it. That, to me, that's it. If I can just, you know, communicate that your life is yours, fuck, like, that's amazing. And I have for 20 some odd years. You know, not many people like to hear that. So when I'm talking to all of you here, for example, and you're talking about your journeys, I resonate, man. I fucking love it. Like, when it hit me, because it's not about memorizing anything or hearing the words or doing any of that. It's just those moments of recognition. You know, those moments where you're just like, right, I don't need to rise to that. Like, I just don't, you know, and you make it your own choice. Love that shit. It inspires the fuck out of me. So cheers to the journey. And I have no problem calling it a journey, because it certainly fucking appears to be one. You are all included in this fist bump.
Fuck yes.
Yeah,
Unite.
absolutely.
That's
Levi,
right.
would you like to follow up with anything, or shall we pass it to Murray?
Oh, sorry. I was supposed to just quickly say pass it on, and then I clicked the wrong button and something came all over here. Yeah, anyway, it's I appreciate hearing it, so it's all good.
Likewise. Murray, how's it going?
Oh man, it is going, and it is. I'm so happy to be um, here right now and with all of you. My goodness, Levi, when you were talking, it felt like you're talking like right to my soul. Like, holy shit, I resonate so hard with everything that was said. And maybe it's the state of mind I'm in. I'm like, what did he say? I don't know, but I remember resonating so hard. No, I know a lot that stuck out was like what we've been talking about too, of that feeling of like cycles coming up or things, situations that are happening, and maybe the fears coming up, but it's not allowing it to like take over the choices or take over the perspective. It's just yeah, it's no longer like driving the situation. I don't know. I just I'm having one of those moments now as I'm speaking that I'm like, oh goodness, I've said this so many times. I know that I've like said these words. Um but it's been feeling more and more. It's been feeling. Uh and it's like it really is indescribable. It's such a like interesting experience to be like lately I feel like I've just been even weird to speak from my perspective because it's like it's not really. I just saw your yeah exactly. I just saw your thing, Andrew, today of like you're not special, you're not unique, and I think that all the time. It's just like it's all there. With that recognition, though, through this experience, it feels interesting to just be aware of all of that and just show up and like watch as all the things pop up and watch as I not necessarily allowed to influence, or maybe I do and I don't judge that. And it's like all good regardless. Because it's funny, like even things that maybe I would have seen as a mistake or something I could have like really harped on in the past of things that I did, even if it was just like something silly and like, oh gosh, that was weird. Why did I do that? Less of that even matters more and more. Just like a lot of it, just like you were saying, of like I'm gonna give less of a shit today, and more. It's like less and less, and that like lightning feeling that comes with that is just you can't describe it. And I know that like I'm gonna continue on this journey. No, um, and I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen, but that's what's fun. I don't know.
I love it. I also like remembering that, it's funny, it's kind of like the difference between, life is changing versus life is change. It's not that we're on a journey. We are the journey. We are the journey. The experience of being us is the journey. That's reality. It couldn't happen without that subjective experience. So the specific path of you, regardless of what it is, that's your journey. And no one can walk it with you, even walking right beside you.
We really can't.
Nope.
We really can't help anyone. And how much that like takes some of the weight off too, that like you can't help anyone. Like anything you say in response, like they're gonna take it as they will. Like it can't be it can't be, it's not that it can't be attempted to be for someone or to help someone, but can't be actually done. Like there's no actual way to do it. And sometimes, yeah. I mean, what sort of reality do you wanna be, really? Like being yourself, showing up, giving a little bit less of a shit, or being overly concerned with just prioritizing yourself. And like that sense, like you're talking about with fear, like that always being a driver, like that being something that dictated, oh, I don't do this because I'm afraid, versus, oh, that's there, of course. And like just looking that in the face, like, well, what's right on the other side of that? I'm just showing up, like not doing it well or doing it correctly, but just showing up and seeing what you learn, because everyone's kind of doing that one way or another.
Right. And I like that you said that, you know, it doesn't matter what you tell someone because whatever you say is gonna go through the filter of them because that's their life, is all of their considerations. And so imagine if you were actually, if we could describe it in a new way instead of like, you can't help someone, right? And of course you can't, because you'd be offering them a solution that only worked for you in your circumstances with your specific conditions and can never work again with those same conditions because those conditions are only available to you. And if you were to offer that to somebody, you'd be like, yeah, well, of course, a specific solution for you that's customized for you couldn't work for me.
Exactly.
Of course you couldn't help me. Your conditions are specific to you. But it's like if you were to lay that out, people wouldn't be looking for or hoping for your help because they would know that the only help you could give is really to yourself. Right. But we don't even view it that way. We view it as like it could be copy and paste. Someone else's attempt in their specific conditions could be replicated because we think that we could replicate the conditions, forgetting that you can't. And you wouldn't need them to if you just pay attention to how your life feels to you, how it's unfolding, and then you just make your pivots, you make your adjustments with your considerations. And that's why whenever I talk with somebody, I was like, when you go to an expert, right? Because sometimes you do want to pick someone else's brain who has a lot of exposure to a specific topic that's relevant to you. That's great. People are a great resource. When you go to that resource, you take what they say with a grain of salt, and you know that they're like an assistant to you. They're not an expert that's giving you a solution. They're giving you considerations for a great brainstorming session. And then you are the one that's going to be able to come up with the best option, the best solution, the best perspective, and in terms of application in your life. So that's what I was like, when you go to that doctor, you go to that consultant, it's not disregard everyone else who's not living with your specific conditions. Just treat them more like an assistant than a guide that's going to give you a specific solution that'll work for you. Because only you can figure that out. And it changes.
Oh man. That was dope. It's funny because I was thinking as you all were talking about like the fact that our experience is like unique, at the same time to put so much importance and weight on the experience and say like that's who I am and that's it and that's everything is like where that like you're not unique in the sense like you know like it's like um kind of feel like I lost my train of thought there, but you know.
I like where you're going there. We all exist. Like there's commonality. We are all dealing with the subjective experience of existing.
Right.
That's our commonality. And because of that, we all have the same temptation to identify and all of the shit that goes with that. You know, frustration, disappointment, greed, suffering, want, desire, all of it. All of that goes with that. And so we're all doing that together. We just all do that in our own specific way. We all have our own flair for our own circle of hell.
Our own panache, you know.
I've got our secret sauce.
That's right.
And the sauces make a return. No, just kidding.
Most is just assuming that my stuff's special. My sauce is more special than any other sauce. Nope. Same sauce.
That's right. Like existence is universal, but the experience of existence is very specific. Like we're because we are all here, but it here feels differently to all of us. Yeah.
It does feel different based on what you're identifying with, where your habits have been growing up. Especially, I feel like I've had a very hardcore tendency towards fear. And lately it's been feeling like a lot lighter. And part of me is like, should it be feeling this light? Like, maybe I gotta worry about something, you know?
I'm floating off the earth. Someone grab me.
I'm feeling too good right now.
Shit. I actually was feeling like I was lifting off my bed today. I was like, what the hell is this? This is eerie.
We've unlocked a superpower and I love it. Levitation, activate.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, I feel like while we are going through our separate experiences, it seems to me that there, like Marie and Ray were talking about, that there are like commonalities in terms of like fear, for example, and desire and attachment to your identity. And I mean, I didn't even know that you could live without identifying so much. So I don't know, it's just an interesting perspective that one can have, and it leads to an interesting kind of experience as well. So I guess I've just appreciated whenever I've seen that in my life. And I have also appreciated when I have not seen that. I've appreciated every single thing that I have seen in my life because all of it has informed my unique journey on this path. Now I'm just messing around.
I love looking at it like your life experiences are the colors on your palette. You know, and throughout your life, you'll learn to use those colors in different ways to make a different picture, right? But it's really learning to use the colors. It's not bitching about what's on your palette. It's learning how to mix it with all the other colors. It's learning how to let the colors inform one another to make a different fucking painting, right? But so many of us are like, oh, I don't have the right colors. If I had better colors, I would have a better picture. It's like they mix, you know, like it really comes down to you using that ingenuity of paying attention, having the patience to just make some ugly paintings from time to time, you know, and then wipe it clean and start again because you got limitless colors, right? And that's why I like going into new experiences. You get new colors, right? You learn all kinds of new ways to paint every time you paint a new one.
I'm enjoying this imagery. I was watching Inside Out 2 yesterday. Highly, highly recommend. What a beautiful movie. I love the direction they took with it as well. I don't know if you guys have seen Inside Out 1, which I also would recommend.
Dad.
That's a great dad movie. Yeah, great family movie. I watched it with my family as well, both movies. And yeah, it was resonating so hard because a lot of us have in our family have somewhat similar tendencies towards certain colors. And so the second movie was awesome because it was like going deeper into the sense of self and building that sense of self and where it comes from and the memories and good memories and bad memories and picking just the good memories and putting away the bad memories. But ultimately it's a team. The all the colors are playing a role. The anxiety is playing a role. The fear is playing a role, and all of these different colors are all playing a role. It's like it's not like you're not supposed to think about tomorrow. Like, yeah, there might be a tomorrow, so better buckle in for a potential for tomorrow. You might want some money for tomorrow if you want to pay rent, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know. It's I guess it's just interesting to see how much pressure I put on myself all the time and how I can keep undergoing new experiences over and over again despite not having certainty of where it's going or what it means about me or I don't know, like where it's going to lead. Because the moment is happening right now. It's not about being excited about what's going to happen or about hoping for some lesson in the future or anything like that. Or I don't know, even hoping for some great food, for an amazing, delicious, sweet crepe. Because when the crepe is here, am I actually eating it or am I thinking about the next big thing, you know? And yeah, I guess it's just a lot of uncertainty has been coming up for me the past week, especially just in regards to, I don't know, I feel like a lot of potential has been unfolding in the mind in terms of what's going to happen. And I've kind of been going with it. Well, I have been going with it, you know, it's just like I'm going with it and
Right.
this is me this is me going through it.
In action.
Hell yeah. I'm glad I could make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, going through all those considerations and concerns and ups and downs. I'm just gonna be honest, I totally lost my train of thought. And I'm like, I feel like I want to say something. There was something. Good stuff.
We have a hand up.
We do. Yes.
Marie.
Yeah, we do. And she remembers why she put her hand up. And I love it. No, I think what's funny is that nobody knows what's happening and we're all just I'm kidding. It's just fun to put things out there and see where it goes. I've been playing a lot with like those type of circumstances, like what happens if I do this, right? And it feels like that's what kids do a lot. Like they're just playing with reality. What happens when I do this thing? You know, when I interact with this person and I do this stuff, and then it's like people then get to this place. And I actually had a conversation with a student today who feels the need to know everything. Like, oh, I know this. Yeah, I know that. I know that. I said, do you feel a need to know all like everything? He said, yeah. Well, this is a 5-year-old kid. And I'm like, why? And he was just like, because I want to know, or I don't even know if he had a real response to it. It was just like, because that's what you do, you know things. And when you know things, then you're good. And when you don't, you're bad. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, and it's just funny to like come from a place where I don't know, but I'm going to show up. I'm going to not take it seriously, all the things we say, but it's just like so funny when you ride it out and it's going to be like uncomfortable at points, but it's like watch it all the way through because it's like it's a really fun ride and you learn a lot and there's this natural flow like Levi was speaking on. It just feels like here it is. Let me just ride it out. It's like we're in a river, whatever. Oh my God. I'm like, that was said too.
And it always will be, right? Like that's the thing. Like we're going to say a lot of these same things over and over again in a lot of the same ways, but we're going to mean it differently each and every time. And we all mean it differently from every point of view that we're coming from. Like I mean it differently than you do because we're basing it on different lessons. We're basing them on different experiences, different paths that got us here. And I think this is one of the things I find fascinating about this is because what we're really talking about is that what humanity tends to consider intelligence, which is the memorization and use of concepts, is really just a superficial covering on what intelligence is actually expressing and being underneath it all. Because while we'll tell ourselves that there's a story that we're going along to, we have moments of clarity. We're like, oh, wait, no, I was learning way more than that, right? It's all of a sudden the story is just not, obviously not the truth. So there's been something happening the whole time. And this is why we talk about jumping in, having faith in yourself, because that's not you going into a situation with an idea of you that's in control, has certainty, will guaranteed to be looked at in a certain way. None of that. It's really just you operating on the fly in the same way you would if you were driving down the highway at 160 miles an hour. You'd be paying real close attention.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And that's what we're talking about is the fact that we've gotten so comfortable with the rate of change that goes with thinking in concepts that we learned in school, that we've actually slowed our potential as a species to be intelligent because we keep getting in the way of it. Right. The intelligence itself has nothing to do with the ideas that we memorize. It has nothing to do with the concepts that we communicate and everything to do with the embodiment of what we are, of allowing ourselves to just change continuously, as opposed to going, no, it's got to be this kind of change, because that is not intelligence. That's fear. Intelligence is allowing it to process through and then going, oh, wait, as Levi said, it's like, can I do anything about that? No, I'm just going to let it sit. Oh, shit, there's more information. And, oh, look at that, more information. Well, that's obvious. Now the choice is made itself. How much of that is just the natural operation of our intelligence, of our collective intelligence? There is no individual intelligence. We're all expressions of it. And we're just learning, I think, to recognize that. And it's always been distorted again by concepts because you can't name what I'm talking about because as soon as I even said collective intelligence, some asshole is listening to this going, oh, and it loves us. Meanwhile, it is quite literally the embodiment of what we all do individually. Right? It's like if you want quote unquote God or the collective intelligence to love you, love yourself. Right? And then that expresses to everybody else. And that's how the ripple changes. But it's so very interesting because we're just talking about being a part of the same awareness and just getting out of its way. I love the fact that it's a conversation of cells within a body. It's like, wow, I seem to be suffering a lot. You know, I don't like what's happening around me. It's like, you ever thought you're fighting yourself? Ah, fuck. You know, and then things just start to work out. It seems effortless. You know, and we see it all the time. Conversations, sports, fucking business decisions, art, all of that shit. You get out of the way, just flows. And yet we seem to think if we're not in total control, our brain's just going to shut down and we're going to become stupid.
But that's just a concept, and concepts feel more like dead information versus like living intelligence, which kind of feels like it has that flow because it is alive. But our concepts are stagnant, and it feels like it is just dead information that's just there to be used as a distraction or maybe more of a hindrance, but we call it a tool and a resource. I just remembered, you know, how we were chatting about dead information, and central hubs of this dead information called libraries, which I used to love and treasure and hold and put on a pedestal. And now I'm like, oh my God, it's just volumes and volumes of dead information that I used to fucking worship. Oh my God, I'm great. Oh my God, that's beautiful. Oh my God, that matches the despair I'm feeling. A graveyard of dead information that
Makes the silence a bit more eerie.
You'll disturb the dead.
They might wake up.
Oh my God, you don't want to wake up the ancestors though. Oh my God, man, it's just, that's what it is. It's just dead information that gets put on a pedestal like it is like attentive to the moment when it's not living intelligence that's sensitive and adapting and pivoting. It's just a concept that's being shoved a round hole into a fucking square peg. You know, it's just not fitting. And yet here we are trying to use this dead information and saying that it's this great resource. It's the silver bullet. You just need the right concept. That's what it is.
Get certified by how many concepts you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Are you a certified conceptor?
You know, a lot of concepts. Stop on Jeopardy. Make some money.
You the sultan of concepts? Oh no, you
King of
know?
concepts.
Oh my God, but it's not intelligent, and yet it's treated like it is because it feels safer, because it's familiar, because it's got that collective seal of approval.
Everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
There must be some truth in there somewhere. I just got to keep searching for it, like a needle in a haystack. You can just, yeah, the seeking, the searching, the looking for something outside of yourself, you know, some answer, some thing, some way to even express it once you feel like you know it's not about concepts. And it's like, how do I best say that so that someone else gets it and I can feel good about myself for feeling like I helped them get it? It's like, Jesus Christ, that's a
You
lot
can
of
read this book, it most likely won't help.
It's such a bitch.
That'd
It's
be
like
a
what
concept
concept?
flavor.
It's got to be a concept I can use to describe. No concepts are the truth. It's like, oh, for fuck's sakes.
help someone understand that best so it sticks with them forever and they are now feeling more free and feel better about myself. Yeah. Do it.
And it's funny is you don't have to.
You don't. I was just gonna say that I was just listening to George Carlin's like self-help that he does. Yeah, and like the fact that it's like self-help really isn't self-help. Like it's just help. Like you're getting from a book. Like self-help is you would be doing it yourself then. But anyway, I remembered what I was gonna say before, which was funny because I just got out of the way, and that was what it was about. Is get out of the way. Like just that's all it feels like this process has been about. And it's been funny to like watch even when I do get in the way, but not allow myself to trip me up, I guess, in the same way and not take it so seriously. So it's just been this fun navigation of not just hold tight and like that understanding that you can just tap into that natural intelligence and like everything else does when it doesn't think about itself. It's like it's happening everywhere when you just step back and look and you just observe without, needing to do something or be somewhere and it means something about you. You could just tune in and see what happens when you tune in and show up. And so yeah, just been riding that wave, see where that goes. And it's uncertain and it's weird and it's uncomfortable and it's fun and it's freeing and it's joyful and it's all the things.
A lot being learned as you go through it, like so much more than going in with a plan and some degree of knowing, even like knowing what the best way for something to go too, because like just that bar right there, it's like I really hope this goes really, really well. Thank you. Got the puzzle piece on TikTok Live. They need a puzzle piece to make sure you're still there if you're not clicking on anything after an hour. So now that that's done.
Human verification complete.
What's funny is that I was doing that oh so quietly, so nobody would know we were
Yeah,
doing it. And you're
yeah.
like, thank you for doing that. I'm like, damn it.
I was there. I was enjoying it.
No.
I appreciate.
Stop
I
being a
appreciate
big friend,
subtle-
Andrew, damn it.
subtleness. I know.
Damn it,
too.
keep your thank yous to
It's
yourself.
just I
though.
wasn't nearly as stealthy as
Yeah.
I hoped, you know.
You blew my cover. I was trying to do something nice. Working on it now.
It's just, it's it. But
I
see, what I like about this is the fact that that's exactly the point. That in itself, like everybody's just like laughing about all of it. There's not a single thing that's taken personally. There's not a single point where we're just like, damn it, I really did fuck up. Like none of that. Right. And it's because we never have to do that. We never actually have to feel that way about our lives or what we're doing. You know, it's something that you said earlier, and I don't remember how you worded it, but it was something along the lines of, you know, mistakes are just growth that we judge. And we're like, you know, I didn't like that, therefore it was a mistake. It's like, right, but you grew from it. Well, I didn't like it though. It's like, that's not the point.
That's
Yeah,
irrelevant.
like, you grew from it. You know, well, it didn't happen the way I wanted it to. Also not the point. You know, maybe you have unreasonable expectations. Maybe that's something you needed to learn in addition to doing the thing. You know, like there's more to it than just that. But we go, but that's not part of my plan. And therefore it's a mistake. And that just goes right back to that illusion of control. You know, the idea that we even know what's best for us. Because even that idea, we know what's best for us, really does come down to us like looking at ourselves separate from everyone else. You know, as far as I know, what's best for me is me getting everything I want. Give me yours.
If you have it, I can't have it. Hand it
That's
over.
what's best for me too. And some of the things you want, I want.
I see.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have a problem, and it's you.
I think we have to duke this out. What kind of army you got?
Give me time. Give me time. I'll find people who are willing to share what I want. See?
There you go.
Yeah.
Build it.
But it's just that.
Build it and hoard it.
Mhm. At least they can't kill us anymore for talking.
It's not that they can't.
Yeah,
They just,
there's enough in the way.
there's more complication, more cameras, you know,
Very true.
and not as many people like cheering them on.
Right.
That helps.
Or-
That helps for sure. If nobody's lighting the torches, you know, it's
Right.
It
They're
helps.
missing the Coliseum, man.
jazz.
From-
Where would you like to go with this?
Thankfully, I had missed like a small portion of that, so I don't really understand how we ended up at the Coliseum. So
Me neither.
Out come the gladiators. Release the lions.
We're extra hungry.
Pretty sure it started with human verification and now we're
Right.
like, you know,
Human bloodshed, our favorite hobby.
absolutely humans. You know, the greatest sport. Yeah.
I mean, they can be though, right? Like, I feel like humans and people, I feel like are kind of used as chess pieces. Like, I've definitely felt that way in my life where people are pieces or pawns or I don't know, like it's a game and people are providing me something and or I'm giving them something and it's a transaction. And so I feel like just recognizing just how alone I am in this experience and how much pressure I put on myself in every moment and how I don't need to have a plan necessarily to show up and be myself. Like I can have a plan to do something, but not to be myself because then I'm not being myself. And I feel like often I've had plans about what I'm going to talk about what I'm going to say, about what I even know, and often I have prepared. Honestly, like I feel like the preparation has been happening like pretty much every moment of every day. which is just taking in information, regardless of whether it's from DU or from its other people or whatever. It's just like it's school. And honestly, I want to bring this up because I found it really funny how like the etymology of school is scola or school, which is basically leisure. Like it's supposed to be a break from work, and like I'm just constantly in school. Like holy shit, that's a lot of work. That's not break.
Right, learning sounds like it was fun at one point. More
Yeah.
relaxed, and you did it in your leisurely time to learn about cool things, to explore your curiosities, and then it turned into a way to prove yourself, to find value, to increase it, and to just have more control.
And we didn't need that control because it was always happening perfectly. We just wanted some way to get somewhere, but we never needed to get somewhere because wherever we were was fine. But there is potential, there are options to explore. But I think the more that I think about myself, the more that I think that I am something that can be thought about, even the more potential for judgment there is. But I think it's just about going through those experiences where I am just putting myself out there, being myself, exploring the options that I want to explore, not knowing how that's going to unfold, have that mind go absolutely batshit and go do it anyways, because I don't need to be afraid of my fear. It is informing me, but it doesn't need to control me.
Yeah, doesn't have to be that wall. Doesn't have to stop it. Levi.
Yeah, I feel that a lot. No, I've been having some kind of just job conversations, like because I kind of am in between jobs, as you say, and just having like conversations with different companies who kind of may or may not be interested in kind of yeah, having me on board. And I'm just going there. A lot of them are like people I know from before, I've worked with before, and just kind of and just I have to say, going into those conversations with zero expectations and like, no, I don't even know if I want it, it's such a different mindset than I had before. It was like, I need this, this is the perfect one, and you're just sitting there talking with them from that mindset. It's so stressful. And then you start to build upon your identity, right? I need to be this way. And I have to say, I've had so many like interesting conversations with these people that has nothing to do even with the job, just about kind of the journey I've been on since we last saw each other, and they have gone through similar shit. And we just suddenly 2 hours have gone by and we barely talked about the job or anything. And it's like, and it's just it's so it is so wonderful because that conversation had nothing to do with the job, and it did like I don't know if that conversation like kind of was supposed to happen or whatever, but it didn't feel like it had anything to do with the job. It was just a really cool, interesting experience. And then yeah, I don't know. There's something about just going in without expectation because you don't know. You don't know what it is. You don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know what's best. You know what don't know what's gonna happen in 2 months. It's just why not just be there and see what happens, And it's like if I was in any way afraid of kind of losing that connection or losing that job, that conversation would never, ever have happened.
Nope.
Because as soon as I have something to lose, I'm not myself. Because how can I be? I'm trying to be something. So yeah, it's yeah, it's pretty cool. It's uh it's just making every conversation so much lighter, more interesting. I'm learning a lot from it because I'm not so concerned about me, basically. So it's just I don't know. There's something cool going on there.
Doors. It really is. Like you're just going into situations, you're just like, I wonder what doors will pop up here. Because you're
Hmm.
not looking for one door in particular, you can see the other doors. And I think that in itself has its own kind of magic. I think that that's what we're witnessing in doing that. I know we've been doing that here locally. Like, we'll just go, we do karaoke 4 nights a week, and people are like, that's your job? And it's like, that's part of it. You know, and when you see us go out and about, man, it's remarkable how people just light the fuck up. Like we'll walk in and we'll cheer people on, we'll talk to people. Every single person who comes within like voice range of us, we're like, how's it going, man? And like, and everybody just reacts to it. They react to it in a way where it just feels different to them. The environment has changed, right? And then they'll come over and they'll mention some random shit. Like weeks ago, we heard about this new place that was going to be opening, but we didn't know what it would be. And then a couple weeks later, somebody else mentioned it. And this time we got the name of the place. And then a week later than that, somebody's like, oh yeah, well, it's the same owner of this place. And it was like, oh fuck. And then we ended up reaching out to that place. Now we're going to be doing an event with them and helping collaborate with their, like, and all that just happened in itself. And then that led to another thing today where we're going to be doing something else with another local business based on the project that we had planned on. So all of these things just, they were the result of us just showing up at places and talking to random people until all of a sudden a bunch of fucking dots connected and there was a picture.
It's been really cool to see that play out because Levi resonated a lot with that sense of like directionless conversation or like doing things without having a set meaning, especially like work type stuff like that structure, the rigidity, like, no, we're doing this for this reason and it's going to likely have this outcome, and like not doing that as much. It's been honest. And today is one of those days where it hit me even more, like after a meeting we had earlier today, just like all the things that we've done so far that I saw as like just doing stuff are like starting to come together a little bit, and they kind of have a way of making sense. But there's times sometimes where it's like everything seems all over the place, and it's like, how is this? And like, I need to figure out how this, and like piece these things together, and like this fits best with, and it's like, no, there is a natural way of things playing out, and like ways that conversations can go. Like majority of the time I've ever had conversations, it was like interview-ish, not actually, but just like, you know, question and answer, curious about something, or had a reason for it. Like, I have an end goal to this, want to, you know, get to know this person better for this reason, or how this, you know, night's gonna play out. Anything like there was almost always a reason, and like not having that outside of just making the most, and like being super fucking curious about where the conversation's going to go. Like, where is this interaction going to end up? Like, what could be, like, what's behind that curtain of like being willing to just step into a conversation without a plan, a structure, a direction, or a situation, or just your life? Because that's where it's like there's stuff behind that curtain that you can't see if you're trying to plan and schedule everything and know how things are going to play out before they happen. You just can't, it's like you just can't experience those same things. Or it's like once in a blue moon when you happen to stumble across like, oh, I wasn't as prepared or ready, and I just kind of like had faith in myself for a bit. But yeah, being willing to just let things play out and like have faith, like that's what faith is. That's faith, is not having so much of a plan or direction or reason for doing something outside of just like your involvement in it.
Yeah, I wanted to mention very quickly because we had this conversation the other day. Andrew has a lot of alarms that are set on his phone, and it's because we have a lot of things going on with Dualistic Unity as a whole. I don't have those alarms. I don't have those alarms. And Andrew the other day figured out that often I just barely remember right before something's going to happen that we were supposed to do that thing. And a perfect example would be Monday's episode where like I went for a walk. I was out. I went to get like a coffee and a bagel, and all of a sudden I went, what is that feeling? Something. Oh shit, I gotta go and record in a half hour.
That's nuts. That's, oh my gosh. The amount of like going to bed without an alarm in the morning at some point, even like that's, there's something still very much
I try to set the morning alarm, but what's funny is I wake up right before them. But that's
faith
it.
in yourself.
It's
But
just,
for meetings too, like for a meeting, not
well, what's the
having-
worst that can happen? You don't make it.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah,
has to
yeah.
adjust.
Yeah.
That's the
it.
worst thing
No
that
one's
can happen.
dying.
All of a sudden, it's, oh, I didn't make this meeting. I never want to talk to you again. Damn you and all your children. Like, it's not likely to go that way, you know? It's really not. So it's more or less like, hey, man, I flaked. You want to do this another day? And then if it happens again and the person's just like, I just can't take your shit, well, then you saved yourself a headache later because you're not always going to be on the ball. I mean, one day it may not be that you flaked just because you were flaky, but you flaked because you had a lot of shit on your plate. Is that person going to be just as misunderstanding? Are they not going to understand then? Exactly. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm going to stop talking on the lack of understanding.
I love it. I liked what you were saying, Levi, about, you know, just going into the conversations without expectation, which reminded me of what Marie was saying about the kids and how they play with reality. And they're pretty much doing exactly that. They're going into different experiences, not sure what'll happen, but just making a choice, knowing, having no idea where that choice is going to go. And so they're playing with reality in the same way that you're maybe playing with conversations. You know, that you're just going into them knowing that it could go in any way, having no idea, and just going into it anyways with that same curiosity and that same kind of like childlike wonder. And so it feels so much lighter, and it's so different and yet so familiar, because this is what we used to do all the time, is just play with reality. But if we think about using the analogy, the painting analogy, it's like the kids are playing with colors and they're like, I'm thinking I'm gonna mix this yellow with a little tiny bit of the blue. And they have no idea that it's gonna make it a slightly greenish. They're just mixing it because they just feel like, I'm just gonna mix this with this and I'm gonna fucking paint one stroke and we're gonna see what happens. But after a number of responses to those choices, they start to cater to a certain template, a certain palette, a certain structure. And they stop playing with the colors because of the responses that they remember getting, either responses that they are so scared to get again, or responses that they think that they should get again, because it means something about them as the painter. And the most unexpected paintings come from that place of just not needing the template, not needing the response, and not knowing what the image is going to look like, and just enjoying every choice with no plan for it. And so I appreciate those paintings, and I appreciate being in that lightness and that freedom to just mix a color with no idea how it'll look, and no expectation of what I want it to look like or what it means about me. So I love that kids are playing with reality, but that never became an option that we couldn't do. It's always available to us. So we can play with reality in that same way, where you're just making a choice, knowing you could go in any direction and just doing it anyways, because you can handle whatever happens, because you're just going to be enjoying the process of painting and not looking for a certain painting to come about or a certain image.
So, yeah, making our own colors. Like, oh, your color looks different than anyone else's. It's like, yeah, because I tried something new. Make something new together.
Right.
Like, obviously that's the case, but all ours are the same and we're all using this one.
Those are not approved colors.
Yeah,
Not approved
like that
colors.
is outside the realm of what is okay. Our 10 approved, yeah, certified colors.
Judge unknown colors.
Yeah, right.
What are the judges supposed to do?
Right, we need to create now ways to judge this and how this fits in.
Oh, great. Now you added to the budget for the bureaucracy.
Right. It said, fuck, man, that's an amazing color. That's incredible. I didn't even know you could mix that with that. I wonder if you could do this.
Mm.
And if you would expect it to inspire someone versus scare them.
Mix in a little bit of water, whole new. All of a sudden you got watercolors and a whole new situation going on, something you didn't even consider. Just doing paint.
It's funny, I so often, well, I guess, oh God, words are fun. With working with kids, there's like so many opportunities for these things to come up, and it's fun to like navigate life alongside of these kids and people, instead of Like I know all the things and I'm passing my learning on to them. It's like, let's learn together. Let's cultivate a space to learn and also respect each other and, empathize and recognize, how we could really flow together if we're just like working together. That's really nice. But it's funny, like too, that, I don't know. It's just, it's really cool that like life really could be, or like school, that mentality of learning, that leisurely learning or learning just because we're curious and we want to do things because we can. It's so crazy how much that isn't what uh, is wanted most of the time, for people to explore and be curious and to question and to, because it wouldn't perpetuate a lot of what needs to be, what wants to be perpetuated, to keep a lot of systems in place. And like we don't want too many people to question, which is why, like we were saying before, people would get killed for saying some of the things that is said here, because it wouldn't be allowed to talk about this. But it's been interesting to see, I guess, too, like um how to navigate with all these different, oh gosh, why are words being difficult today? I don't know, but it's um as I'm trying to find the words, what the words are is like not judging the process. So here I am judging my process of getting the words out about not judging the process. So that's what's fun about that. And I think sometimes maybe that just happened to make me laugh about it, because it's all silliness.
I'm
There's
thinking it's specifically your process.
right. There's so many things that I also, Jazz, I resonated with, like that I'll want to say when I raise my hand or have these expectations of what's gonna come out, and then none of those. It's like, yeah, but it seems like all these words, this is like how I am picturing it, like being funneled into, like all these words want to like fit into this funnel and come out, and like all these different ideas and thoughts that come to mind, but I'm like trying to force it through, and it's like, let it just process out. First of all, not all of it needs to go through. We can filter some of this shit out. But like flow with the process. So I'm trying to like jam it all through. And I don't know. Really, getting out of the way is it's just it's a really fun fucking thing to do.
I go through it all the time. Like there's so many things that go through my head that later on I don't end up expressing. It's because there's only so much time. I can't jam every thought out of my mouth hole at once.
Oh, but trying to hold it, like, oh man, the amount of times that, especially on, calls where it's like you're responding, or I can imagine having your hand up, like we don't have that situation, but it is kind of like filling space when, if there is space, and bringing something up in that sense of like following along for a reason. Like I'll go back and forth all the time between like, oh, that was something cool there, or that thought, and trying to hold on, and then being like 2 steps behind, and it's like, oh, come on, it's like, let go, bitch, let go. But it's like, for what? Like, was someone's life, is my life's gonna improve if that's what's expressed, as opposed to whatever's there when the time is appropriate and the time is right. And sometimes when that time is appropriate and right, there's nothing to say, and that's on the table too, and that's fully on the table as much as everything else. And like, there's nothing that you have to expect from yourself at any point, like on a call like this, on a way you live your life, spend your day, where you wake up in the morning, first thing you do in the morning, like do some crazy shit, and then not judge yourself for it, and then move on, do that practice. Or you have a tough time sleep in, and like not judge yourself for it. There's something right there, more so than trying to stick to this rigidity all the time, like being perfect, keeping yourself in check, in line. It's like loosen that slack a bit.
Right. When I mentioned like libraries being like dead information, it's like schedules are also dead, right? The schedule is this rigid structure that's like you're supposed to wake up and then do these things in this sequential order and take these regulated breaks. And it's like that doesn't sound alive. That doesn't sound like a life. That sounds like very much a dead thing, like a dead carcass, and I'm just carrying through every moment, and I'm just like, all right, carcass says it's time for lunch. It's time to eat. I know, like, it's this fucking dead body I'm just carrying with me. And I'm like, damn, these grocery runs are really tough, man. Every Monday at 10 a.m. I've got to go to the grocery store, just carrying that dead body with me. And it's not it, and it just seems so cumbersome, and it seems so absurd when I put it in that way. Like you're just, like a schedule is just a dead body you're just carrying around with you, and you're like, that's crazy.
Oh,
And I think of that as like that's my measure is I'm checking in with this dead thing, how I should live my life, and then I wonder why I don't feel alive.
Yeah.
Your insanity. Levi,
Levi.
glad I got you laughing.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it's been nice letting go of the structure more. It just opens up a lot. But then again, it's the whole pendulum thing, right? If you have absolutely no structure, I can tend to I don't know. It's like society is sort of I feel it requires some structure. Maybe not, but yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly why I put up my hand. Um, yeah, there was something. There was something about school and yeah, and we moved on from
I'd like
that.
to
And
touch on the society thing and the structure because that's a great direction to go in because I can understand why that pressure is there because it's like what time are you going to be there? Because I don't have much time. So you got to be there for 15 minutes, right? Like time is money, all that shit. Like our whole world's fucking structured because it's all just based on this, need to resolve this sense of lack, this need for control, everything else. But I live on an island. I live on an island in a small city. I work for myself in a remote job. Like there are things that over the last 25 years of my life have slowly changed to reflect my lack of need for that structure. I've made different choices in terms of jobs or locations or I guess people I would work for or with over time, just based on how my own priorities have changed. And then all of a sudden, 20 years later, I find myself in a place that reflects how little structure I really want to rely on. And so for me, I think the same is true for society. I think that as we change, that structure will change. I think that's why a lot of people started working once COVID passed, people were like, I don't want to let go of my remote job. The fuck are you talking about? Like, I'm just starting to feel what my life is like. People are actually going like, oh shit, like taking care of my kids at lunch is an important thing. Like all of a sudden everything just changed. And so society's got to change with that. I think that's it, is that we wanted that structure for so very long that it was easy for the system to build up around us based on it. And then now it just reinforces that and we feel oppressed by our own need for structure. I think it's funny. We're going full circle, the pendulum.
Right. When I think about structure, I just think it's just rules. Like it's just a rule that I give myself for how I spend my day. It's a rule for how I interact with others. It's a rule for how I spend my time alone. It's a rule for how I work, live, play. Like all these structures just sound like templates of rules. Your school structure, the corporate structure, our societal, the way that we approach education. These are all just rules for how we're supposed to do something, when we're supposed to do something, and who we can do those things with. And it's just all these rules that we came up with. So it's so funny that we will be like, well, that's just the way it is. It's like, motherfucker, we made up these rules, which means we could change those rules. Wild. Whoa. Right.
No. That would take so much work.
There it is.
Like just changing our own, that's the thing, changing our own rules. Changing our own rules. It's like a culmination of all our fucking rules. But yeah, the structure, the rigidity that comes with that, the desire to fucking look to something else instead of, because the balance and the gray area with it, like it's something that absolutely can be used. Like there is a convenience, but it's like, doesn't have to be that guide,
Yeah.
I guess. And I have always wanted it to be a guide. I've always wanted it to tell me what to do and give me that sense. Like I've mentioned it with nutrition and stuff, with calorie counting. Like I spent a few months calorie counting and was like, had a set number I wanted to hit for the day. And it was kind of irrelevant at the end of the day, whether I was hungry or full, I was hitting that number. So if I was a little more hungry, it's like, doesn't matter, go to bed hungry. If I'm super full, still get to that point where it's like add a bit more. And when I stopped doing that, I was like, oh fuck, there's like a natural flow to this. Like on the days I'm more hungry, eat a little more, not as hungry the next day. And I don't have this like grinding, like square peg into a round hole type situation. And that's what structures are, because so many of them come from someone else too. Like you can create structure, isn't like a demon or a devil, but oftentimes 99.9% of the time it's coming from someone else or something to follow. But like you can make structure within your own day based on yourself instead of based on everyone else. And I think that's possibly more of a healthy relationship and a way to utilize it instead of it utilizing you, that whole thing.
I love it. I'd love to jump in just to be like, maybe it's not that we build a structure, but it's like structure versus sensitivity, right? You're sensitive to the considerations. You're sensitive of the moment. You're sensitive of yourself, and you don't need the structure because you are sensitive. But when you don't want to be responsibly sensitive, you want the structure to take away the work that you think that you could get rid of.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, like the structure that we have, especially here in North America, right, is an old structure. And so it was designed with the most sensitivity that they could at the time, which is why like there's 4-year periods between voting for somebody. Once upon a time, it took that long for somebody to send mail by horseback, right? Like there was a process. It wasn't just tallying in the votes or getting people, like it was a totally different thing. And so that was as sensitive as they could be to the public, because of the technology at their fingertips. Now we have the technology to be sensitive all the time, but we don't adapt the system accordingly, right? At all.
Just the sensitivity to the new circumstances.
We just hold on to that same old structure because it's trod and true. We know it.
It's
like, when was the last time you delivered mail by horseback? You know,
one is by land, two is by sea.
Hold on, let me Google that, you know, and that's it. And so we have the ability to be more sensitive to the changes that are happening in our society, in our world, by giving people the ability to communicate at faster intervals. It doesn't take us weeks to communicate. We can communicate in real time. What does that give us the ability to do? Communicate all of our different priorities, and to actually have a system or have a world with various different systems that reflect those different various priorities and the groups that embody them.
Different sensitivity.
Absolutely. But you could do that with sensitivity, to actually have a moving mass of like micro governments.
Be this living organism. Oh, that'd be so cool.
Absolutely.
And drop one in certain areas, and then it would be based so much more on geographical stuff too. There is an ability to utilize, and like more common mentalities or focuses can have a smaller set of, you know,
that would be the geography, all the mentalities.
But to think about it, like if they were to change that right now, and to actually give, let's just say every citizen, every voter in the United States a say on how the military budget's allocated. You know, all that shit that they pass through Congress that no one looks at because it's fucking massive, and they're just trusting the representative that they can vote
Or they
for
slip it into a bill that's
every
not
4
defense
years.
related.
Straight up, you know,
They
like
do that shit.
the whole TikTok thing. They slipped that in with fucking support for Ukraine.
oh shit.
Right? So like that shit, imagine not having representatives that could do that, but everybody actually having a real-time vote. It's like, well, we're going to allocate money from welfare to the Pentagon. Big old fucking thumbs down.
Yeah.
And that's why they don't do it.
Yeah.
Straight up, that's why they don't do it.
People respond.
Yeah. But we can. And so it's that balance between structure and sensitivity, right? The structures should adapt as we do. Instead, we rely on the structure because we're afraid of letting go of what we know. Levi, I'm sure you had your hand up. Yeah, you did. See,
It was just like there from before, I guess. But yeah, it's very interesting to hear you guys talk about it for sure. It's like something that hit me, like I know like we've talked about this a bit before, but like the whole responsibility thing on a structure, on a habit, on and I was even like it hit me with these choices. Like the reason you want to make that choice is because you don't want to have the responsibility or the uncertainty in the moment, right? You just want to make the choice and then you're done with it and you don't need to like relate to it anymore. So it's like it's kind of like because it feels really uncertain to go into like meeting after meeting, for example, with like, but you haven't made a decision yet, but you keep like you're still there, you're still in the moment, like kind of getting information and kind of yeah. So I really feel like it's a lot of this with structure is mm, just reducing the responsibility kind of and the need for sensitivity, right? Because it's like, oh no, but we just always do it like this, etc., etc. So yeah.
We've mentioned that before. One of the first things early on in the podcast, just talking about like traffic lights and just how much, things have gotten more convenient, so much more convenient to the point that like you don't have to look to cross the street. You just wait for the little light. And a lot of times people just don't even bother looking and like just relying on, oh, this is going to tell me what to do. And there's so many things like that out there. But yeah, it always cuts away at sensitivity or the feeling of like a need to, but also like how much of life is missed in that. Because there's a lot of, a big spectrum right there, a more full spectrum. And yeah, trying to mitigate one side of the spectrum. Not gonna get any of the other either. Go ahead and handle.
It's just nuts because we just do that without even realizing it. And it's like, of course, because I'm not sensitive to the fact that I'm relying on the structure. So I don't have to be sensitive. I don't have to pay attention to that. And and it feels like it's more convenient, but it has its own ripple. And so when there are moments where I'm not being sensitive and I'm feeling like, well, why should I be sensitive to other people? They're not being sensitive to me. And it's like, yeah, but that is just shucking the buck or passing the buck, right? Because I'm like, why should someone else be responsible for the way that I feel about things, right? Shouldn't being sensitive to the way that I feel, the way that I live, the way that my life is unfolding, how would I want to give that to someone else? That sensitivity feels like it's a great gift. It's a great opportunity to be able to feel things more deeply or to realize that I was afraid to feel things more deeply, that I wanted to trust myself, that I felt those insecurities. Like all that sensitivity is an opportunity. And instead it's looked at as a burden. We see that sensitivity as a burden. And so we think that the structure will alleviate the burden.
Yeah. And because of that, we've lost sensitivity. That's the funniest
And we're
part.
like, why can't I feel anything?
Right? And that's exactly the point. And so the system, I always find it funny how the system has over time increasingly taken responsibility away from the citizenry, but then bitched about having irresponsible citizenry.
Oh,
Jazz.
I am really enjoying the conversation and where it is right now. It's interesting because we were having a conversation about structure at the previous retreat in the Denver retreat, and whether or not you need structure, whether or not you need some kind of law telling you what's right and what's wrong. And yeah, it's interesting because I feel like I agree with most of what's been said here. It's interesting because, for example, like knowing that the call is going to happen at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for the roundtable is like good, like if it's like, oh, I don't know what time the roundtable is going to happen. Although, you know what, like if you did that, then people would just show up. Like whoever showed up. That would be fine too. Like you don't need particular people to be showing up at the particular time. You can have a roundtable at like midnight your time.
random roundtables.
Off the cuff now.
And a new segment is for.
Actually,
You're thinking-
that's not a bad idea. We
I-
could
I
do
like
like
it a lot.
actually like do like an extended live stream where from
Hey,
time to
Jack.
time where we do like 3 hours and then we just throw the join link onto Patreon
Right?
Yeah.
for tier 1 or up. Anybody want to jump in, they over that stream whenever they can just pop in.
Mhm.
I like that. Make it
Great.
the random ones available to everyone, for
Yeah.
all tiers, because our current roundtables are available to our tier 2 and tier 3 Patreon members. But the random ones being available to everyone, that sounds pretty cool.
That sounds fun. Yeah, and like spontaneous and like also like who knows what would happen, right? It's like anytime, any place, any people. It's like there's so much potential for that when you're not necessarily relying on the structure, but it's just an option. So yeah, it's interesting because like options are cool. It's nice to have options when you're not necessarily relying on it to escape responsibility. Because when you are being responsible, when you are allowing sensitivity to arise, when you are feeling the full spectrum, then it's like, oh yeah, like let's set these times so that people can consistently show up, and then also like let's fuck it, fuck it.
Blow the schedule up, light the fuse.
Straight up. Actually, before we wrap up this afternoon, I just wanted to mention actually that we're going to be playing games again in the very near future. Buckle up, everybody, because we're all getting strapped in to get back to gaming online. We're going to be doing some dope shit. And if you haven't already, do check out social media at Dualistic Unity on Instagram or TikTok, because we do try to share what we do from Monday to Thursday on karaoke and whatnot. And of course, one more announcement. The Port Alberni tickets are available now for November 2nd to November 10th. This is our full retreat. We are returning to the first retreat location. This is going to be just an incredible experience. Whale watching, hot tub, live music, yoga, walks through the forest, cannabis, chef, the whole bit, a massage therapist or Reiki, if you prefer Reiki. This is the full fucking package. It's an amazing experience. The tickets are available currently to tier 2 and 3 supporters on Patreon until Sunday. Tier 1 will get access as of this Sunday, and then a week after that, they will be publicly available. But if you are interested, if this is one of those events you absolutely want to go to, pick up your ticket now. That is my recommendation, because we released this a little over a week ago, and we are now down to less than half of the available tickets being there. I think we have four doubles and a king. We have 4 double beds and a king available. The double beds are in shared rooms. Each room has 2 beds, so you will be sharing the room with somebody else, but each room also has its own private fucking bathroom, which is amazing. I love that about this location. The king size room does not have a second bed, has its own private bathroom, and has the option, if you would like to bring a guest, you can bring a guest to share in your king bed. So that is an option that wasn't there previously. This is going to be an incredible event. The sooner that you buy your ticket, the sooner we will be able to message you and go, oh shit, this is what's happening. So definitely, if you're interested, jump on that right now. Tier 2's got access. Patreon.com/Dualistic Unity. And do remember, all of the Patreon members, tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, save money on these retreat tickets. Tier 3 saves $350, which is a sizable discount.
And less than, you could even get 3 months on tier 3 and it would still make sense net for the discount. But you get on there for 1, yeah.
And if you stay on there for 3, you get a sick sick
Right,
sweater.
there is that right
Yeah.
there too. But yeah, Port Alberni, making our way back there. There is not a more magical location, I don't think, in terms of the environment. The way the lodge is created too, it's like couldn't be better. Couldn't be better for a retreat. The big long dining table where everyone gets to eat together. The hallway up top, 2nd floor with all the bedrooms, like a bunk dorm type room, but like a really, really nice one back in college with your own bathroom, like not having to wait for a bathroom.
The huge fire pit. Like the fact that not only
in
do
its
we
own
have a fireplace
location.
in the house and in the gazebo, there's a wood stove in the gazebo as well. There's a massive fire pit out on the massive estate grounds that this lodge is on. So we all get to sit around this fire ring and just have this massive, massive bonfire. We did this at the last 2 Port Alberni retreats. It was a huge success. It went really well. Actually, it was kind of funny because I remember the first retreat, we had a bunch of city people there, and we were all in the darkness, or rather they were in the darkness, and somebody thought they heard a grunt. And so all of a sudden I'm coming out of the lodge to the herd of people running at me from the darkness towards, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? It was my first retreat. I was panicked. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening here?
Right.
Are they turning on me? Is this a mutiny? Like, it was quite the experience, but it was so much fun. And don't worry, we've never seen a bear there. It's not that there aren't bears around, but they tend to stick to themselves, or they hang out by the river. That's one thing. It's a beautiful place, is what we're saying. Bald eagles, deer, bunnies. It's a fucking magical forest playground.
Oh no, it is absolutely epic, and it does have access to the river. So you go down this beautiful wooden staircase to go right to the river's edge, which is fantastic. And then there's the jacuzzi, there's the sauna. So you're passing that on the way to the river, a beautiful, huge deck that you can just bask in the view at any time. And certainly felt like a dream to be there. And I look forward to going back and excited to hang out with whoever gets to join, but highly recommend Port Alberni. It does not disappoint. But if you come with less expectations, you'll make it easier for not to be disappointed. So,
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, and just a note, if there are no other events happening this year. So outside of Port Alberni, the only other thing that's happening is that we are going camping in Tofino on Vancouver Island from August 19th to 23rd. We have our ticket, or we have our campsite booked. If you would like to join us, book your campsite. The information is currently on Patreon, where the campsite is, right? All you need to do is book site for those dates. Let us know when that site is booked, and we will let you know where we are. I don't know if we actually know the site until we get there, but the point is that book your site. If you can, book it in the forested site area, because that's where we'll be. And we would love to see you there. So the name of the campsite is on Patreon. We did the announcement, I think, last week, something like that. Jazz knows where it's at. And if you don't know any of these things, you can join us on Discord, where you can connect with the community and they can tell you all the cool shit that's happening.
Absolutely. The Discord is in a great place right now. And if you are looking for the schedule, there's a schedule on there. And we're also going to be adding some monthly game night and movie nights. Like that's something that's been on my mind. And I'm going to be putting up polls after this later today to put a little bit of structure in there, get some time slots that work for people, a sprinkle of it.
Considerations.
Absolutely. Just work times that also work for me and might work for people as well. And so we will have that as well. And so I'm very much looking forward to that. And also the retreat, because I'm very pumped for Port Alberni. Like the Port Alberni space is pretty magical. Like the hikes are awesome. Like I live in BC, and so I see this on a routinely basis, and I still have my mind blown. I still had my mind blown at Port Alberni because of how dense and how luscious the forests were and how deep you can go in them. And I mean, honestly, it was like a never-ending walks that we had. And we could have kept going further if sunlight or our legs allowed for it.
We turned back for food.
Absolutely. Yeah. There are considerations, damn it. But
And do remember, everybody, that this is a full event. Like, this is a full retreat, which means that we pick you up at the Nanaimo airport, where we all get into a bus that will drive us through the Cathedral Grove old growth forest. And anybody who's a Star Trek fan, or sorry, Star Wars, I offended some nerds there. Anyway, and I feel that. Anyway, the point is that if you're a Star Wars fan and you enjoyed the scene where they were zipping through the forest on the moon of Endor with the Ewoks, that is this forest. So we're actually going to be going through that forest on a bus, stopping for a brief walk through it, and then moving on to the retreat location in Port Alberni. It's a gorgeous forest. You're going to just love this. So find the details, go through Patreon. We're going to wrap up for today. Thank you, Marie, Levi, Jazz. We really appreciate you being here, as always. And thank you, listener, for participating in it, and we look forward to you joining the next roundtable or one in the near future.
Bye, everyone. Have a good